Tom Cruise makes me nervous. During the 3+ hours I sat in the dark watching Paul Thomas Anderson's ensemble epic Magnolia, I found myself wanting something I'd never wanted before: more Tom Cruise. As a white, middle-class American moviegoer who graduated from high school during the Reagan administration and subscribes to more than one cable film channel, I've seen every film Tom Cruise ever made, some many more than once, without even trying. Like a Tom Petty or a Jim Lehrer, Cruise falls into that category of competent, if ubiquitous public figures that have never won my love or hate and therefore never truly caught my eye. Except for his memorably Baroque turn as Lestat in Interview with the Vampire, which I, like the rest of the country, blame on his curdled blonde hair. But somehow, Cruise's work in Magnolia as the male prowess guru Frank T.J. Mackey so seized my curiosity that I walked straight out of the theater to go rent his 1983 film Risky Business. Tom Cruise is a mystery in plain sight. If one sets out to explain his appeal, all the normal movie star reasons melt away. For starters, his looks. Cruise has never been a breathtaking beauty. The shock of Risky Business, especially if your head's full of the flawless teens currently steaming up the television, is how ordinary Cruise looks. He's a regular awkward kid, to the extent that I doubt he'd be cast in the lead now. Cruise's face is too angular to be sensual. Whoever said that there are no straight lines in nature never bought a ticket to the firm. His face reminds me more of a math problem than a love poem, the nose and chin right out of high school geometry, hard vectors of flesh. Picasso might have liked to paint him, though it would have been too easy. Turning breasts and lips into rectangles is more of a challenge than making a box like Cruise boxier. Even his hair is drawn on with a ruler. Check out his short and sporty coif in Mission Impossible. Every individual strand is aligned parallel to the y-axis. Which might explain a little of the Magnolia draw. Cruise's longer locks in that picture do make his face look a little softer, or as soft as it's possible for a man to look while swaggering around a stage inciting other men to date rape, proclaiming, "Respect the cock." I'd never given Tom Cruise's cock much thought before. If I had been asked to draw a nude Tom Cruise before seeing the bulge protruding out of his white underwear as he strips in Magnolia, I probably would have given him the smooth anatomy of a Ken doll. Where Tom Cruise sticks his privates has been the subject of rumors and lawsuits, but I never gave Cruise's sexuality much truck one way or the other. Because watching his movies over the last couple of weeks, I am constantly surprised when Cruise is in the same room with another person, much less the same bed. He strikes me as utterly, quintessentially, fundamentally alone. Of course Stanley Kubrick wanted Cruise to play the doctor in his Eyes Wide Shut. Much of the movie requires the doctor to walk the streets of New York by himself at night, and when a director needs alone in a crowd, he calls Tom Cruise. The running gag about his title character in Jerry Maguire was that Jerry hates to be alone, but he also can't connect with anyone. In that sense, Jerry Maguire is the perfect fable of America's relationship with Tom Cruise. Basically, we think he's a stuck-up phony, and we want to see him hit bottom, have his love interest notice for once that he isn't paying any attention to her, and then we want to see him humanized, i.e., cry. Cruise's first 2 Oscar nominations, for Jerry Maguire and Born on the 4th of July, display the public's deep desire to see him put through a ringer. We want him to get his legs cut off, July, and we want to see him lose for a while to the even slicker, if that's possible, Jay Moore, Maguire, because we want to punish him. Because I think the only reason seemingly every man, woman, and child in America goes to see his movies is not that he blinds us with beauty or talent or emotion. We can't take our eyes off him because he makes us a little nervous. Not too nervous, that's why we invented Dennis Hopper. Cruise makes us stealth nervous, just jittery enough to keep us awake. Watch Barry Levinson's Rain Man again, and I guarantee you that the discomfort of Dustin Hoffman's shticky autism does not compare to the heebie-jeebies of Cruise's performance. Hoffman can dodder on about missing Jeopardy every 13 seconds and he's fresh air, but Cruise, closed off and angry, is a twitch fest. When Hoffman's Raymond throws a fit as Cruise tries to give him a hug, the viewer more than understands. While autism is the most natural thing in the world, an embrace from Cruise defies the laws of nature. When the cute little kid in Jerry Maguire gave Cruise a hug, my first reaction was parental. I wanted to grab the child away, scolding, "We don't do that. We don't touch burning stoves, strangers' candy, and we do not touch Tom Cruise." Because Cruise is not, as the French say, good in his skin. Even in his most flawless, most affable performance as Lieutenant Daniel Caffey in A Few Good Men, Cruise seems the most comfortable on the softball field having conversations with Demi Moore through a fence. Because Tom Cruise is the most talented actor of all time at keeping his distance. Like most screen icons, Tom Cruise is not of us with our faces lumped together out of concentric circles versus his straight-edge mug. Us with our nerves and fears and him with his lieutenant lawyer cockiness. Him with his choreographed cocktails and us dripping gin on our carpets as olives splash on the floor. But that's where Tom Cruise stops, better than. There's no further inspiration to be gained. Like every time I see To Kill a Mockingbird, I take one look at Gregory Peck's Atticus Finch and resolve to become more dignified. Even seeing Rene Russo in the remake of the Thomas Crown Affair made me vow to dress better, which, if not a moral for our times, is at least some little something. Cruise's best line in Magnolia comes when his character is asked by the reporter interviewing him why he stopped talking. "I'm quietly judging you," he seethes. And that might be just what we're afraid of with regards to Tom Cruise. The mark of a great performance is that it obliterates distance, gets under our skin. It's simply harder for an icon to do that, but possible. Magnolia is the first time Cruise even comes close. It is far and away his most physical performance, if only because I'd never heard him breathe. About half of Cruise's on-screen time is taken up with Mackie's rooster struts, again, alone, across a darkened stage. His entrance, a ridiculous backlit pose to the strains of Also sprach Zarathustra, isn't his only Elvis move. His debauched bumps and grinds as he speaks, often fucking the air, punctuate his hilarious pig speak with a new earthiness. He'd never seemed more human, which is to say funnier, more vulnerable, than playing a man without the self-awareness to know that barking the words, "You are gonna give me that cherry pie, sweet mama baby," might make him come off dopey, pathetic, and sad. We've never seen Cruise this lewd, and thus we've never really seen him get his hands dirty with the dopiness of desire. As my upstanding mother said when she called last night to tell me why she'd walked out of that horrible, horrible Magnolia and wanted me to explain what's wrong with movies today, she sighed, "I'll never be able to look at Tom Cruise again." I didn't have the heart to tell her that I feel like I've seen him for the first time.